Welcome to part 5 of the 755 Followed Me Home project. If you missed what brought us here, there are links to parts 1, 2, 3, and 4 posted below. In this episode, me, the dentist, has decided that the block must come out. If the cavities could have been filled with new rings, we may have been able to save it, but with it being near the wear limit, out of round, having loose and missing bolts, there was only one way to treat the infection: extract it. As you get ready to watch this operation, this sight of an empty engine compartment should whet your appetite for this episode. But part 6, a supplemental video showing the testing of the injectors, will really get your mouth watering. So bite down on some gummy worms and let's let the operation begin. All right, to prepare this engine for lifting and to get access to the left rear motor mount, we need to take the starter off. And it's a lot easier with the exhaust manifold off of here. What I've found on some of the other tractors, this bolt back in here is very difficult to get to. It needs a special wrench, but you can use an extension and a socket, 17 millimeter, to get in there and loosen it up. I'm just simulating how I was able to get this done. There's a conflict with the wire coming out of the solenoid, and you just have to play with it, and I just ended up using the socket to go in there and grab it. The lower one on this tractor is easier to get to, but I'm not able to get a socket on it because of interference with the part of the motor mount. So what I've got here is a 19. Probably if a guy's going to pull the motor, he would go and leave the starter on, pull the starter off later. I guess I'm just a little lazy. But this bolt will have to come out to clear the starter here. It seems to want to thread out. So once I was able to get it back far enough, the starter was ready to come out. Well, I have a choice here to see if we can get the main bolt loose, or if we're going to resort to taking the 2 bolts loose and leave the mount here to take off at a later time. Let's see what happens. It's a lock nut, probably turn at the bottom. Yes. So we'll need to get a socket on the bottom. Let's see how well these come off. So the frame seems to want to hold both of these bolts in there right now, so they'll fall out later. The 2 front motor mounts present a number of different issues. So to illustrate the problem, there's access here to get to the head of this bolt. On the left side, the hydraulic lines restrict access to the bottom of the head on this side. I don't have a good image, but from above and from the side, you can see the fuel tank and crankshaft pulley restrict access to the bolt heads. Compounding this, if your engine hasn't been removed, the book shows the nut is threaded on from below. Also note that the front 2 mounts are riveted to the engine support. On this tractor, they've been substituted with non-matching bolts. And that's the lock nut to that head that's back in there that I can't reach, even though I could get to these other 3. To illustrate how hard it is to get in there, I don't even know if I can get the light so you can even see that head of that bolt back in there. With the engine out, it's easier to see the interference problems. Well, as you can see on the tractor's left side, there's these 2 oil lines down below, so you can't reach it with an extension. And also down below that is the front axle. So that one is really hard to get to. On the right side, you could get to the head of the bolt with a swivel. I didn't have one. But also down below it is the hydraulic cylinder, and it's just pretty well inconvenient. Considering that both of them have problems, I think the only way to do this efficiently is to take the fuel tank out on this version. The motor mounts are a bit more of a challenge than I thought. So what I'm going to attempt to do Let's take the fuel tank out so I can get access to the front motor mounting bolts underneath. I'll admit that I've never had to take the fuel tank out of a front mount. Usually the later models that I've worked on, fuel tank's back up there and just the battery down there. I didn't get this on the camera, but I was able to dig a lot of dirt. Let me get the focus here. I was able to dig a lot of dirt out along this ridge and around these hydraulic lines, and I'm able to get the tank out. I think it's going to come out. There it is. One fuel tank. To save some embarrassment, I found out that the head on this bolt is a 15mm socket. And it wasn't very tight either. And on the left side, I found that the head of that bolt is 16. I don't know about the bolt, if it'll even come out. It's down against the oil lines. Came out. The head of the motor mount bolt is a 16, and you can fish around, and it's fairly easy to find. Now it's time to take the drive shaft loose from the isolator. Again, a lot of these bolts are just not tight. Well, the drive shaft is disconnected, motor mounts are loose. Can't see anything else that's in the way except the oil cooler. Lined up as close over center of where I think the weight is of the motor. It'll make more sense when we start to lift. Got the floor jack underneath the front of the tractor so I can kind of move it fore and aft and side to side when it's time. So I guess it's time. There it is. After studying the clearance to the engine stand, it was decided that the drive plate and flywheel both had to come off. So I don't know how we're going to go with that yet. There's a cute little flywheel. That shield comes right off. Well, since I don't have an impact wrench, no real way to keep that from turning, I devised this idea. If those bolts shear off, so what? I get a couple more. But anyway, this is possibly going to work. 17mm. Come in here and make sure it doesn't move around on us. There we go. Not exactly the right way to do it, but you know what? Worked. We'll record this just in case it comes off. I've put a bolt in there just to catch it. There, I think we have it loose. Keep your feet out of the way. There she is. One flywheel. And it looks like it was a good idea to get back behind here anyway. We've got some loose oil just right here at the bottom of the seal. Once the block is mounted to the engine stand, I won't have access to these bolts that hold this cover that also protects the rear main seal. So I've mounted it up to the engine stand temporarily, have a block of wood underneath here, and we're ready to break some of these bolts loose. They are tight. Just to make sure I don't have any trouble accessing these, because that plate is really tight, I'm going to take these pan bolts out. They're not going to bother anything. They're going to come out eventually anyway. Alright, we'll put these bolts back in and get her mounted up on the engine stand. Alright, let's see what kind of oil we get out of it. It's black. I don't know if you can see this, but down inside that filter, doesn't look like it's ever had any oil in it. It looks really clean, that blue insert down in the bottom. There wasn't much oil that came out of it when I took the filter loose. On the right side of the tractor, we see that there are 3 missing bolts that hold this bracket to the block in the front and 1 missing in the rear. To get this bracket bolt loose, we'll have to take these 13mm bolts out, because this rubber cushion mount needs to be replaced anyway. Of course, the reason we're getting in here is so that we can strip this block down and get these things all out of the way. Well, that wasn't very tight. How about this one? Now that had some tightness to it. It's a 16, I've got to use a hand wrench for that. Loose. It was more like finger tight. Alright, we'll go to the left side, see what we get here. Tight. About the same. Loose. Somewhat tight. Loose. That was tight. Well, this is better than the other side. So when you're doing this, you want to put your flat chisel in there. Start tightening her up. And then take your lightweight little hammer, beat on it once, see what happens. Well, oh, it's tapered. There's no key. I just noticed something interesting here. There's no seal. And coincidentally or ironically, the seal has stayed with the pulley. There's quite a bit of oil that's dripped down here. I wonder if that's been spinning in there. I don't know. Now it feels like it might be more tight. That's something to look at. I'm not sure what this means. Here's a bolt that holds the front case cover on, and here's another one, but there's none in between here. And the book doesn't show the position of every one. So I believe what I'm going to do, just to satisfy my curiosity, is to pull this accessory drive cover off and see if there's anything behind here that would need to come loose before I go around and open all these up.
This is a good time to mention that there are at least 3 different engines in 755s. An early, a later, and an even later model starting in 1992. My 1991 parts book only shows what's referred to as a later version, which is what we have here. They can be identified by the bolt patterns and style of the front gear case cover.
Well, here's what I found. They're a long bolt, long enough to go into the gear case. So I just spun it up on its side to drain any oil out of here. Just maybe make it a little bit neater. Before we spin the engine over, we want to take the lifters out. Use our magnet for that. We want to make sure they go back in the right hole. It's time to flip it over, see what it looks like on the bottom side, get that pan off. Well, here we go. Yeah, this would probably be faster with a impact, but I have the time. It was good that I took these two bolts out because I don't have the correct tool to get in there and get those. And there's also quite a bit of this red forma gasket that's coming through a lot of these holes. So this has definitely been apart before. But all the bolts seem tight. I will tell you that it has that really funky ether smell coming out of it already. I can't explain it, but it's strong. Well, we're going to start with rod cap on cylinder 1. Not tight. That one at least popped. It just, it was not tight. Let me roll it up and let's loosen number 2. See what we get there. Boy, that's not good. Let's try this one, just see if it's hand tight. No, popped a little. All right, go to number 3. Let me just try my hand again. No, not that one. That one started. That one was tight. That one was tight. But those two, they just weren't tight at all. I'll take these little guys out. We'll inspect those later. I'm going to leave the bolt out that is on the injection pump side.